Hi, I'm Darren Leech. I'm a director at NHS Elect and I work as part of the coaching faculty. We provide coaching skills training to senior leaders in the NHS, and today I'm going to talk to you about the 3 most common mistakes made by people trying to use a coaching approach with their colleagues at work. So the first coaching mistake I want to talk about, first bear trap you might fall into, is not respecting silence. So a coach needs to assume and work on the basis that their coachee is a bright, resourceful, intelligent person who, if they don't understand a question, will tell you. So if you ask a really good, challenging coaching question and your coachee goes quiet, the worst thing you can do is butt in and try and reword the question, because the silence is usually indicating to you that you've really got their grey cells working. The cogs are ticking away in there and they're having some really good creative thoughts. So interrupting the thoughts is often unhelpful. So try not to jump into silence. I have a colleague actually who sings happy birthday to himself. Obviously not out loud during periods of silence, because that's a decent period of time for someone to really have a think about the question and for you to make an assessment as to whether you've just really got their grey matter working away, or whether they're sending you any sort of body language or signals that they're confused or don't understand the question. So as I say, first mistake, butting into silence, try and avoid it. So another common issue that coaches sometimes find is that coaching conversations deviate all over the place, and that's because the coach at the outset hasn't helped the coachee anchor the conversation. What I mean by that is setting a really clear goal, a purpose for the conversation, a really clear area to focus on. Now sometimes your coachee will bring you a massive problem that they're really struggling to get to grips with. So breaking that down into constituent parts and getting your coachee to agree a batting order of conversation is sometimes helpful. It enables them to find a good place to start the conversation. And I used the word anchor earlier. That can be a really useful thing to remember, because if your coachee starts to deviate away, or you suspect they're deviating away from the purpose that they've agreed with you for the conversation, you can remind them or ask them, how does this relate to the problem, the issue that you said that you wanted to discuss? Bring them back on track, and it avoids lengthy and unfocused coaching conversations. So vague and overly ambitious goals can be a real problem for coaching conversations. So be really clear, really concise about the goal and the focus of the conversation at the outset, and you'll have a much more constructive coaching conversation. So perhaps the most common mistake in coaching conversations in the health sector is where a coach defaults into giving advice. And that's because many leaders, managers in the health service have advice, guidance and direction as their default setting, is their preferred personal style. And it can be really challenging to you as a manager, as a leader, to shake off that traditional way of operating and get into more of a coaching mindset where you assume the person you're working with is intelligent, able, capable, motivated and committed to resolving problems for themselves. So not giving advice is a real discipline. Not giving advice can be a real challenge, and it's a real bear trap that quite a few people fall into. Sometimes people try and worm their way around this by giving what I'd call advice in disguise. So they'll dress advice up as a question, or perhaps even ask a leading question. Now, the reason this is an issue is because when you're giving advice, you're not coaching. You're not getting people to solve problems for themselves, and you're further creating a culture of dependency rather than trying to encourage a spirit of independence from the people that you're working with and the people that you're coaching. So there we are, the biggest bear trap, the one to avoid, giving advice. So there we go, 3 of the most common mistakes found in coaching conversations in the health sector. So the first, of course, was butting in, not respecting that silence where intelligent people are thinking through the really good, positive question that you've posed to them, Don't butt in, don't stop them thinking, because you're inhibiting their creativity. Second one, vague and ambiguous goals. Be really clear about the purpose of the conversation. Get that anchor set at the start, and you can bring them back and help them resolve that problem. Keep them focused and keep them motivated. The third and the biggest and most common trap is giving advice. Advice and direction are often the default setting for people working in a busy National Health Service. Try not to give advice. Don't ask leading questions. Don't dress up advice in disguise as posed as a question. Because remember, if you truly want your team to work more independently of you, they're going to need to be able to solve problems for themselves. So stick to the discipline of asking questions rather than giving answers.